The first news is Philip Seymour Hoffman's will guides son away from Hollywood. Philip Seymour Hoffman's last wish for his son was that he grow up in New York, Chicago, or San Francisco, according to the late actor's will. Hoffman, who died of a heroin overdose earlier this month, left his entire estate to friend and companion Mimi O'Donnell, who is the mother of his 3 children, according to the document released by the Manhattan Surrogates Court Wednesday. It was signed by Hoffman in October 2004. When his son Cooper, now 10, was just a year old, and before daughters Tallulah and Willa were born. It is my strong desire and not adoration to my guardian. Let my son Cooper Hoffman be raised and reside in or near the borough of Manhattan in the state of New York, or Chicago, Illinois, or San Francisco, California. Hoffman stated in 13-page will. That provision was in a section that applied only if O'Donnell was not living at the time of his death and if a guardian was to be appointed for his children. If living in his preferred 3 cities were not possible, Hoffman requested that his son at least visit there twice a year. The purpose of this request is so that my son will be exposed to the culture, arts, and architecture that such cities offer, Hoffman's will said. Noticeably absent from his list is Los Angeles. Given Hoffman's fame as a Hollywood actor, Hoffman named O'Donnell as his estate trustee and is executrix of his will. Hoffman, 46, was found on the bathroom floor of his apartment, a needle in his arm. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators discovered close to 50 envelopes of what they believe was heroin in the apartment. Law enforcement sources said they also found used syringes, prescription drugs, and empty plastic bags of a type commonly used to hold drugs. The sources said Hoffman, who was nominated for Academy Awards 4 times, won the Oscar for Best Actor in 2006 for his portrayal of writer Truman Capote in Capote. He earned Academy Award nominations for roles in Charlie Williams' War, Dog, and The Master. The next news is Judge orders new sanity evaluation for accused Colorado movie theater shooter. A judge has ordered that accused Colorado movie theater shooter James Holmes undergo an additional sanity examination. saying there was good cause to believe previous testing was incomplete and inadequate, according to a ruling issued Wednesday. Arapahoe County District Judge Carlos Samuel Jr. ordered Holmes to undergo an independent exam by the Colorado Mental Health Institute in Pueblo by early March, and the report must be filed by July 14th. Seymour further ruled the new examiner may not take into account any mitigating factors that are identified in the state's death penalty statute. Prosecutors are seeking the death penalty against Holmes, who is accused of opening fire in a packed movie theater in Aurora, Colorado during a July 2012 midnight showing of the latest Batman installment, The Dark Knight Rises. Authorities have said Holmes was dressed head to toe in protective gear. Holmes alleged through tear gas canisters in the theater and opening fire on the patrons, according to witnesses. Police say he used several weapons, including an AR-15 rifle, before fleeing the theater. Outside the theater, the shooter was apprehended, identifying himself to police as the Joker, one of Batman's arch-enemies. Holmes faces 166 charges in the rampage that left 12 people dead and dozens more wounded. Holmes was a neuroscience doctoral student at the University of Colorado's Anschutz Medical Campus until the months before the attack. Prosecutors have argued that he began plotting his attack while still enrolled. The defense, meanwhile, appears to be focused not so much on what Holmes allegedly did that night but his mental state than an earlier. A psychiatrist who treated him had warned campus police at the University of Colorado how dangerous he was, prompting them to deactivate his college ID to prevent him from passing through any locked doors, according to court documents. The next news is Bob Miller. Don't blame reporter for my crying during interview. Bob Miller may have MR in tears, but he's not upset with the reporter who pushed him to the point. I was really surprised. I felt like it was me, not her, he told CNN about NBC reporter Christine Cooper. After Miller won a bronze in the men's Super G alpine skiing race Sunday, Cooper asked him about his emotions and stuck with the question after Miller teared up talking about his brother, Clooney, a snowboarder with his own Olympic aspirations, who died last year at 29. Miller, who ended are unable to speak, stopped over and crying says he doesn't blame her for asking the questions. She asked questions that I feel like with her knowledge of my brother and the situation. I feel like were pretty normal questions, Miller said. I've known Christine for a long time, and I think she's really comfortable with me, and I felt terrible that she was getting just massacres in the press and in social media. Miller's brother was in a motorcycle accident in 2006. He suffered several seizures after that, but still dreamed of competing in the Olympics. That was part of the reason why I was staying with it and coming back to continue to rest. So we would be here together and, hopefully win together, Miller said. Winning was an incredible way to honor his brother, he said, which made Sunday great and painful. In the end, people will sort of see that it was more me just dealing with all these emotions and the build-up of several years of very tough personal life stuff, Miller said. Next news is, police, 2 Americans found dead on Maersk, Alabama, Captain Phillips' ship. 2 American security officers have been found dead on the Maersk, Alabama container ship, placed in the Seychelles said Wednesday. The vessel was moored at Port Victoria in the Indian Ocean archipelago. The men, both 44, were found dead on Tuesday. CNN first learned about the incident on Twitter. A post-mortem will be carried out this week in order to establish the cause of their sudden deaths, police said, adding that the police investigation is ongoing. The Maersk, Alabama, was targeted by Somali pirates in an attempted hijacking of the east coast of Africa in 2009. The 2013 film Captain Phillips is based on the incident. The 2 men worked for Trident Group, a Virginia-based Maritime Security Services firm. The company's president, Tom Rotherford, said the men were former Navy SEALs. It's bizarre, of course. It is a shock. They are all great guys. Rosdorf said, I'm absolutely clueless as to what happened. Kevin N. Spears, a senior director for Maersk Line Limited, said in a statement that the security contractors boarded the vessel on January 29th, and that their deaths were not related to vessel operations or their duties as security personnel. Maersk Line Limited contracts with Trident Group in accordance with U.S. Coast Guard security directives, Spears said in a statement. Contracted security is part of an anti-piracy protection plan to safeguard crews and vessels, Spears said. In Maersk, Alabama's case, she is persistently in high-risk areas since she provides feeder service to the east coast of Africa. The vessel was cleared to complete cargo operations, and she is now at anchor waiting for further instructions. Senior Chief Petty Officer Daniel Tramper said the U.S. Coast Guard had been notified about the deaths of 2 U.S. citizens and is investigating, but due to the nature of the investigation, that will be about all that we can provide right now. State Department spokeswoman Marie Harf confirmed the men were U.S. citizens. The Coast Guard is involved in the investigation. Because the Maersk Alabama is a U.S. flagged ship, Harf said. Police said the ship arrived in Seychelles on Sunday with a 24-man crew and had been expected to leave Tuesday. The bodies were found by a colleague who had gone to check in on one of the men in a cabin at about 4:30 p.m. Tuesday, Seychelles police said. In April 2009, 4 armed pirates attempted to hijack the Maersk Alabama, 380 miles off the coast of Somalia, after the crew sank the pirates' vessel and foiled their efforts to take control of the container ship. The pirates took the ship's captain, Richard Phillips, hostage on a lifeboat. The incident ended 3 days later when Navy sharpshooters killed 3 of the pirates and captured the 4th. Phillips was unharmed. The ship was attacked by pirates again later that year, but armed security personnel fought them off. Another attempt by pirates to board the ship in March 2011 was thwarted when security personnel fired warning shots. The next news is U.S. talks tough but options limited in Ukraine. The United States talked tough Wednesday about trying to halt escalating political violence in Ukraine, but analysts warn there was little that outside pressure could do, especially if the Ukrainian military gets involved on the side of the government cracking down on protesters. President Barack Obama condemned the unrest that killed 26 people on Tuesday and began spreading Wednesday beyond Kiev and the Ukrainian capital, with reports of protesters taking over government buildings in the nation's western region. Obama said the United States expected the Ukrainian government to show restraint against peaceful protesters, and he warned there would be unspecified consequences for excessive action. He made a point of saying the Ukrainian military should stay out of it, as it has so far. Later in the day, after Ukraine's president and the opposition leaders agreed to a truce and to fresh talks, Obama said he hoped this development will provide space for the sides to resolve their disagreements peacefully, insisting that Ukraine isn't a pawn on some Cold War chessboard with Russia. Obama said that he hopes a unity government will be formed to pave the way for fair and free elections. The situation that happened in Ukraine has to do with whether or not the people can determine their own destiny, he said. Visa ban. Later, the United States issued a visa ban for 20 senior members of the Ukrainian government and others responsible for the violent crackdown in Kiev. In a senior State Department official told reporters on a conference call. However, Council on Foreign Relations President Richard Haass told CNN that the United States and its European allies have limited options for impacting the situation on the ground in Ukraine. My own hunch is this is going to continue to escalate, has said, adding that the main question was whether the military would side with the government by getting involved or back the protesters by remaining in barracks. In what the senior State Department officials called a glimmer of hope, the Ukrainian government and the opposition announced a truce Wednesday night to allow for negotiations restart with the aim at stabilizing the situation. Earlier, Obama said while attending talks in Mexico with the leaders of Canada and the Oyster country that we are going to be watching closely, and we expect the Ukrainian government to show restraint, to not resort to violence in dealing with peaceful protesters. Ukraine's military a focus. Thousands of demonstrators have packed Independence Square in Kyiv since November, when President Viktor Yanukovych reversed a decision to sign a trade deal with the European Union and instead turned toward Russia. The unrest intensified after an anti-protest law went into effect on Tuesday. The street clashes escalated dramatically, leaving 26 people dead and buildings on fire. Vice President Joe Biden spoke to Yanukovych on Tuesday night to express grave concern over the crisis. A readout of the conversation released by the White House said Biden told the Ukrainian leader that the United States condemns violence by any side, but that the government bears special responsibility to de-escalate the situation. Secretary of State John Kerry reiterated Biden's message on Wednesday, saying Yanukovych can choose either dialogue and compromise or violence and mayhem. It is in his hands to decide what the future of Ukraine and the future hopes of his people will be, and we hope very much that violence will be avoided and a compromise will be found, Kerry said. Wednesday night, Ukraine military forces moved into defensive positions around military bases and weapons depots across the country, according to a U.S. defense official familiar with the latest intelligence. The move was considered as defensive to secure facilities and weapons, and so far only involved military personnel rather than any widespread movement of armored vehicles. According to the defense official who spoke on condition of not being identified, we are encouraged the Ukraine military has not been brought into this crisis, and we urge them to remain on the sidelines, said Pentagon spokesman called Steve Warren. If the Ukraine military got involved in the fighting, that would have consequences for our defense relationship, Warren added. Ukraine cites terrorists for trouble, while Yanukovych's government has received most of the blame. Ukrainian officials blame protesters for the escalating unrest. Security chief Alexander Yakimenko accused protesters of looting weapons and ammunition from government offices, and announced a nationwide anti-terrorist operation. According to senior U.S. administration officials, such language by Ukraine signals a hardening government position against the protesters. In a later conference call with reporters, the senior State Department official who spoke on condition of not being identified expresses concern over the replacement of Ukraine's military armed forces chief. No reason was given for the dismissal of Col. Gen. Volodymyr Zamanov. Russia, which has major historical and economic ties to the former Soviet territory, accuses the United States of playing a role in the widespread protests. The senior State Department official denied that on Wednesday, saying, "We completely reject their notion that we have been interfering." The visa bans announced Wednesday followed an earlier move in January, when extinct visas of some Ukrainians were revoked over previous unrest, the State Department official said. This time, the 20 Ukrainians, none of them from the military, now banned from getting new U.S. visas, represent the full chains of command that we consider responsible for ordering security forces to move against protesters on Tuesday, the official added. Sanctions top. Other sanctions in coordination with the European Union also could occur, according to the official who declined to provide further details. France also has threatened sanctions against Ukraine over the government's crackdown, with President Francois Hollande calling the protester violence unspeakable, unacceptable, intolerable acts. The Obama administration has come under increasing criticism for its foreign policy, as talks have faltered on halting Syria's civil war, which left near 5,000 people dead in the last 3 weeks, in a particularly violent stretch of the almost 3-year conflict. On Sunday, veteran GOP Sen. John McCain of Arizona called the U.S. police in Syria an abysmal failure and a disgraceful one.